Welcome to EO Talks, Eastern Oregon's very own talk show, only here on EO Alive.
Hi, I'm Representative Bobby Levy, House District 58. I represent Umatilla, Union, and Wallowa counties. And I'm here today to kind of tell you what we did last week in the House of Representatives. We had floor sessions till 9 o'clock at night, 5:30 to 9 one night, 7 to 9 the rest of the nights. We finished at 9 o'clock on Thursday night. And that was a negotiated day, that one was, where our leader, Christine Drazen, has been trying tirelessly to negotiate with the speaker to have a more equitable session where we would hear more bipartisan bills that could go forward and work on things that affected COVID, things that affected education, things that affected getting our businesses back in business. And those bills were kind of at a standstill. Right now, the Democratic Party has been trying very hard to only hear things that they want to move forward. More taxing on small businesses, taxing the PPP loans, mask mandates, controlling of water resources and how we do water on our side of the state. One of the bills that is still alive, and I'm very disappointed that it is, was brought by Senator Dembro, who has toured our area numerous times. And he wants to limit water to 5,000 gallons per day off of a groundwater source, which livestock drink out of. So no more than 5,000 gallons per day. Well, if you have 500 head of cattle, you're not going to get, enough water, because 500 head of cattle drink more than 5,000 gallons of water a day. Yeah. So, and I don't remember that Senate bill. I wish I did. But I'll get it back to you so that we can give you an update on where it's at. I know that it is still sitting in the committee. It has not had a hearing. And so we're hoping that by this week, the 14th, is the drop dead day. And if they don't have a work session scheduled by that time, then they're not going to go forward. So there's quite a few of them that will not go forward. We have, so we voted on all of the budget bills and they passed unanimously, which is a good thing, because it was the balance reset for the budget and for the DOGAMI to go forward and to allow the capital construction stuff to go forward, some of them. And Blue Mountain Community College got funding for their prison education program. And so this coming week, we have House floor session scheduled clear through Saturday.
Wow.
7 to 9 p.m. on Saturday, 10 to 11, I believe, and time off for lunch. And then on Saturday, it's not 7, it's 5 to 9 p.m. And that's to get through all the bills. The problem is that we're reading all the bills word for word. The Republicans are requesting that every bill be read word for word, because we're not allowed to have the normal person come in and testify on the bill. And when they do get to testify, the one thing that we have just found out recently, which I have asked from legislative policy research offices, people have submitted testimony on bills that they were scheduled for a hearing, and now they've moved them 2 or 3 days ahead because they had a backlog of bills that were scheduled for a hearing, and they submitted testimony for that bill. So the bills moved 3 days ahead, but all that testimony that was submitted for that bill, I was always under the assumption that that testimony, whether it was read into, like somebody actually spoke and read their testimony, that that testimony followed the bill every place it went. Well, it doesn't show up when you look at the next day's scheduling of that bill that that testimony is there. And I've had 2 or 3 people reach out to me because they've reached out to the legislative, uh, policy research office and asked them why, and they said, "Oh, that's normal, we don't do that. You'll have to resubmit your testimony." I don't believe that should be the case, and, I would imagine most everybody else doesn't believe that as well. So, we're researching that and hoping that by Monday we'll have an answer to that, so that if you submit testimony on a specific bill and that bill is not heard that day in committee and they decide to hear it in the next committee assignment, that that testimony follows that bill. So it becomes part of the um, legal, and you can go back and look at it and see who testified on it. And somehow I think that maybe they misunderstood that because it's always been my assumption that if you submit testimony, that testimony stays with that bill forever. It doesn't go away. You should be able to look back in a year from now and see what somebody testified on a bill that was previous to that and what their stance was in case that bill didn't pass. You want to rewrite that bill, then you can go back and say to these people that were for it or against it, what can we do because this bill died in committee or didn't get passed or whatever, but I still want this bill to go forward this year. You can visit with those people and say, what can I do to make you want to vote for this bill? Or what can I do to convince you not to vote for this bill? And this week, we have some taxing bills coming forward in my revenue committee. There is one bill that establishes a statewide database for police that have had any misconduct complaints or allegations or charges against them to be public. It has a -6 amendment to it right now that completely rewrites the bill. In my committee, we have a bill 3373, and that's a Fahey bill, and that is to allow the attorney general to get legal fees if they win a court case and the opposing party disobeys what the court rules for them to do, then the attorney general gets their court fees reimbursed. So Monday, I'm going to be testifying on House Senate Bill 642, and that's the Wolf Depredation and Compensation Fund. And that is Senator Golden's committee. And he's also in charge of the wildfire issues as well. Bill 832 is going to prevent mink breeders from having anybody work for them if they don't have an active COVID test, and have to be tested on a regular basis. They can't bring the mink cannot be brought in from another breeder to their breeding farm because they found out that mink can catch COVID from a human. And I don't know who brought this bill, but I believe it was brought by a breeder because they were worried about their mink. And we have some bills coming from the Senate side that are not good, and that's the gun bill 554, where if you have a license to carry, each individual community can make their own rules about whether you can carry it within their building situation or within a certain number of feet from a specific building. And so we'll see how that goes on the House side. The Republican Party is concentrating on trying to get more public input and allow the people who want to speak, if they're speaking like you and me over video, that they get their time to speak. They've been limited to, in some committees, 30 seconds. Now, I can honestly say that in my 3 active committees, I have revenue, and I have Joint Ways and Means Subcommittee on Education, and I have Economic Recovery and Prosperity. Our chairs and our joint chairs have not limited, not made onerous limitations on their testimony. So usually they've allowed everybody to have 3 minutes to talk. And that's including people for the bill or against the bill. They haven't made a distinction between that case. So in my case, I would say my committee chairs and co-chairs have been very equitable. That's the key word lately, equitable. But not so much the case in some Democratic. I even testified on one bill, and he gave me 30 seconds to talk. Our caucus meets every day before the floor session. We go over bills that, as a caucus, we believe are troublesome. We spend some time talking about them and trying to decide, if we can come to a consensus whether to vote for them or vote against them. The good thing I like about this is that everybody's heard in our caucus, and Leader Drazen listens to us, and she's very good at having a conversation with all of us and including us in the decisions that are made as a caucus. She's made an outstanding effort at making, especially us new ones, feel welcome and being part of the process and helping us to understand what's going on and how we can be better advocate for our side of the state or our community or the district that we represent. I get a lot of emails every day on bills that people don't like and wanting us to walk. And walking's not an option right now. There's other more important things at stake right now that walking would put a detriment to. One of that is redistricting. People don't understand that, but redistricting is a 10-year deal. And if we redistrict and we end up it being gerrymandered where the Secretary of State gets to do it, and darn good and well, if the Secretary of State is the one in charge of redistricting, we're going to have a problem. It'd be better if we have an open citizen government who helped us figure out what the districting was.
Can you tell us a little bit about how constituents can get into contact with you if they have some concerns about the bills and the legislative process you're talking about?
Yeah, they can call my phone number in my office. It's 503-986-1458. And we try to get back to them in 2 days. I mean, we usually have every morning, we'll have about 60 calls on the phone. So Whitley goes through them. We only have one person in the office. We're not allowed to have two. I'm looking for somebody to come and just do phone calls. They can do that distant. And help us get our phone calls answered quicker. I'd like to have them answered within a 24-hour period. So they can call that phone number, or they can send me an email at rep.bobbylevy@oregonlegislature.gov. And it's BOBBYLEVY at oregonlegislature.gov. And those emails get answered every single day. So if you have a question, you have a thought, you have any kind of a concern, reach out. I'm always available.